Story number 1. This story is titled Whispers in the Desert. In the desolate expanse of the Nevada desert, just outside a small town of Pahrump, strange occurrences were part of everyday life. Locals spoke in hushed tones about eerie lights dancing in the night sky and unexplainable sounds echoing through the arid landscape. But nothing compared to the experience of Jackson. Jackson is a seasoned hiker and adventure seeker. He sent this to us, telling us this is exactly what happened. One moonless night, Jackson set out for a solo trek across the dunes, armed with nothing but his flashlight and determination to uncover the truth behind the stories. As he ventured deeper into the desert, an unsettling feeling of being watched began to gnaw at him. The silence was so complete, it pressed against his ears, interrupted only by the crunch of his boots on the coarse sand. Hours had passed, and just as he was about to turn back, Jackson spotted a faint glow on the horizon. Intrigued, he pushed forward, drawn to the light like a moth to a flame. As he approached, the glow intensified, revealing an otherworldly sight, a shimmering, translucent figure hovering a few feet above the ground. It radiated a soft, pulsating light that seemed to beckon him closer. Heart pounding, Jackson reached for his camera to capture the phenomenon, but the second he raised it, the figure vanished, replaced by an oppressive darkness. Suddenly he felt a cold, clammy hand grab his arm. He spun around, but no one was there. The temperature dropped drastically, and an unnerving, high-pitched hum filled the air. In the blink of an eye, Jackson found himself in a vast, otherworldly landscape. The sky was a swirling vortex of colors, and the ground beneath his feet seemed to ripple like water. Disoriented, he stumbled forward, feeling the presence of unseen beings watching his every move. Whispers echoed around him in a language he couldn't comprehend, sending chills down his spine. Just as he felt his sanity slipping away, Jackson was abruptly pulled back to the desert, lying face down in the sand, grasping for breath. The glow had vanished, and the eerie silence had returned. Shaken to his core, he stumbled back to town, his mind racing with what he had experienced. Jackson never spoke of his encounter, but the haunted look in his eyes and his sudden aversion to the desert spoke volumes. The whispers in Pahrump grew louder, and the stories of interdimensional beings took a new, terrifying life of their own. As weeks passed, Jackson couldn't shake the feeling that something had followed him back. Shadows seemed to move in his peripheral vision, and faint whispers haunted his nights. Determined to find answers, he began researching similar encounters. He discovered a pattern. Individuals across the globe who had experienced these phenomena often reported strange symbols etched into their skin. One night as he lay in bed, Jackson felt a burning sensation on his forearm. In the dim light, he saw an intricate symbol forming, glowing faintly. Panic surged through him, but he knew he had to stay calm. He reached out to a group of paranormal investigators who had delved into the interdimensional phenomenon. They agreed to meet and help him uncover the truth. As of today, we're waiting for further information from Jackson on any new developments and if he has this other team. He's invited our team to help do research with him and actually take us to the location where it happened. Story number 2, The Haunting of Taunton State Hospital. Taunton State Hospital, nestled in Taunton, Massachusetts, opened its doors in 1854 and housed thousands of individuals with mental health conditions over its long history. Among them was the notorious Honora Kelly, better known as Jolly Jane. She confessed to 31 murders, driven by a chilling ambition to have killed more people, helpless people, than any other man or woman who has ever lived. Rumors persisted that Jane's spirit still roamed the decaying halls of the abandoned hospital. One chilly autumn evening is the story of a group of friends that we have been contacted by email. And here's Emma, Jake, and Lily's story. They decided to explore the infamous hospital. Armed with flashlights and a sense of adventure, they made their way through the overgrown path leading to the decrepit building. The air grew colder as they approached, and an eerie silence enveloped them. The hospital stood like a silent sentinel, its windows shattered and walls covered in ivy. As they stepped inside, the floorboards creaked under their weight, and the musty smell of decay filled their nostrils. The friends exchanged nervous looks, but pressed on, determined to uncover the truth behind the hauntings. They reached the main hall, where a grand staircase led to the upper floors. As they shone their flashlights around, they noticed old, handwritten patient records scattered across the floor. Among the records was a detailed file about Jane, chronicling her twisted deeds and her eventual commitment to the hospital. As the friends read through the files, they began to hear faint whispers. The air grew dense and heavy, and the temperature dropped sharply. Jake felt a cold touch on his shoulder and spun around, but said he saw nothing. The whispering grew louder, leading them toward the basement. They descended the stairs, their footsteps echoing ominously. The basement was dark and damp, with an old medical equipment strewn about. Emma felt a sudden chill and turned to see a shadowy figure crawling along the walls, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. The friends felt a surge of fear as the figure seemed to watch their every move. Determined to find answers, they continued to explore the basement. They discovered an old ritual room with symbols etched into the floor and remnants of dark rituals scattered about. The atmosphere was oppressive, and they felt an invisible force pushing against them, preventing them from moving further into the room. Lily, feeling a surge of bravery, recited a prayer she had learned, hoping to ward off the malevolent presence. To their astonishment, the oppressive force seemed to wane, and the shadowy figure retreated. They realized they had stumbled upon evidence of a satanic cult that had once operated within the hospital, using patients as sacrifices in their dark rituals. As they pieced together the history, they felt a sense of urgency to escape. The hospital seemed to come alive, with doors slamming shut and ghostly figures appearing at every turn. Just as they reached the exit, a blinding light filled the room, and they heard a faint, sorrowful voice whisper, "Thank you." The friends burst out of the hospital, gasping for breath. They stood in silence, the enormity of their experience weighing heavily on them. They knew they had encountered something truly otherworldly, and their lives would never be the same. They returned to town, shaken but resolute. They decided to share their findings with the local authorities, who pledged to investigate further. The legend of the Taunton State Hospital grew, and the memories of that night stayed with Emma, Jake, and Lily. They knew the spirits of the hospital had finally found peace, and the town could begin to heal from its dark past. This is story number 3, The Legend of the Dogman. This story comes to us in an email from Ryan up in Traverse City, Michigan. Ryan had always loved the tranquility of his remote cabin in Grand Traverse County. Nestled deep within the Michigan woods, it was a perfect getaway from the hustle and bustle of Traverse City. This particular weekend, he decided to take his small son, William, for a father-son bonding trip. The cabin promised fishing, hiking, and stories by the campfire, an ideal adventure for a curious 7-year-old. The journey to the cabin was uneventful, the golden hues of autumn leaves creating a picturesque backdrop. As they arrived, the air was filled with the scent of pine and the crispness of fall. Ryan and William spent the day exploring the forest, fishing in the nearby stream, and collecting firewood. As dusk settled, they gathered around the campfire, roasting marshmallows and telling tales. William, wide-eyed and eager, asked his father for a scary story. Ryan hesitated for a moment before recounting the local legend of the Dogman, a werewolf-like creature said to roam the forests of Michigan. According to folklore, the Dogman appeared every 10 years, terrifying locals with its fearsome howls and piercing yellow eyes. William listened intensely, shivers running down his spine. Later that night, as they settled into their cabin, an eerie silence enveloped the woods. Ryan, ever the cautious father, secured the cabin and ensured the fire was stoked to keep the chill at bay. William drifted off to sleep, clutching his favorite stuffed animal. Around midnight, a bone-chilling howl pierced the silence. Ryan's eyes snapped open, his heart pounding in his chest. He quietly got out of bed, careful not to wake William, and approached the window. The moon cast an eerie glow over the forest, and for a moment everything seemed still. Then he saw it, a massive, shadowy figure lurking at the edge of the clearing. Its eyes glowed a menacing yellow, and it stood upright, almost human-like, but with the unmistakable features of a canine. Ryan's blood ran cold as he realized he was staring at the dogman. The creature let out another howl, sending a chill down Ryan's spine. He quickly closed the curtains and backed away, his mind racing and with thoughts of protecting his son. He grabbed the rifle he kept for emergencies and positioned himself by the door, ready to defend his family. Minutes felt like hours as the howls continued, growing closer. The cabin walls seemed to pulse with the creature's growls. Ryan knew he had to keep William safe. He whispered a prayer, hoping the legend was just that, a story. Suddenly there was a loud thud against the cabin door. Ryan's grip tightened on the rifle as he listened to the sounds outside. The creature scratched at the wood, its growls sending tremors through the cabin. William stirred in his sleep, mumbling in fear. Ryan steeled himself, ready to face whatever lurked outside. He took a deep breath and threw open the door. Aiming the rifle into the darkness, the creature stood there, its eyes locked onto his. For a brief moment, man and beast were frozen in a silent standoff. Then, with a final guttural growl, the dogman turned and disappeared into the forest, its howls fading into the night. Ryan slammed the door shut, his heart racing. He checked on William, who was thankfully still asleep, blissfully unaware of the danger that had lurked so close. The rest of the night passed in a tense silence, Ryan unable to sleep as he kept watch. By dawn, the eerie quiet had lifted, replaced by the familiar sounds of the forest. Ryan decided it was time to head back to Traverse City, not wanting to tempt fate any further. As they packed up and left the cabin, William asked his father if the dogman's story was true. Ryan forced a smile and assured him it was just a tale. But deep down, he knew the truth. The legend of the dogman was all too real, and it was a night he would never forget. Do you believe in ghosts, aliens, dogman, Bigfoot? Hit like and subscribe for more stories, as we are going to bring forth more true stories from around the world. Thank you and have a good night.